Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Backman Report. Every week, Fred Altvater and I get together and check in on the world of golf to bring you the latest news, insights, analysis, interviews, recaps, previews. Hey, we cover anything and everything golf. In other words, if it happened in golf, we have it for you. Fred, hi, how are you this week?
Hey, Carlos. We made it back to Toledo after a couple weeks in Florida. The temperatures here are in the single digits, so it's quite a shock after being in 75-degree temperatures in Orlando and Tampa. Super Bowl was Sunday. Did that turn out like you wanted? What do you think?
Of course, I told you I was going to go with the old guy. Hey, TB12. I was saying that's. I mean, I was surprising the way that they played and they dominated Kansas City, but I remember mentioning, this Kansas City didn't have their two tackles, so that was going to make it very difficult against that front four, actually a front seven from Tampa, and I'm amazed at the game calling from both sides of the ball and from Tampa. I mean, Todd Bowles and Byron Leftwich. I was impressed, and I think they made the switch. The last time they lost was to Kansas City. After that, they had a bye week, which was the last one anybody had. So basically, after that, they turned it over. I mean, they turned it around, and we saw what happened. I mean, they definitely were the best team down the stretch.
Yeah, I think I commented last week. I kind of thought that Tampa's defense was just a little bit better than Kansas City's defense. And they proved that. I mean, and it's amazing, Mahomes is so mobile and can do so many things, but they really corralled him. He just couldn't do anything because Tampa's defense did such a great job. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to bet against Brady. You got to bet with him. And then they were making a note on TV in the playoffs. Tampa Bay and Brady beat Brees, um,
Rodgers, Rodgers, Aaron
Rodgers,
Rodgers,
and
Patrick Mahomes.
Mahomes. Yeah, so three Hall of Fame. I mean, Mahomes is going to be in the Hall of Fame, right?
Oh yeah,
So
definitely.
three MVPs, three Super Bowl winners, and people that will be in the Hall of Fame. He had to beat all those to get to the Super Bowl. That's never been done. Probably will not be done again. But Tom Brady, if I were him, Carlos, I'd say, you know what, this has been fun, guys. I got nothing left to prove. I did it with Belichick. I did it without Belichick. It's been wonderful. I'll see you. I'm going to take my $400 or $500 million and my supermodel wife, and I'm going to go play some golf and just, do a commercial here and there, and I'm just going to enjoy myself. I don't, all he's going to do is get hurt and be messed up for the rest of his life. 43 years old. Somebody get to this guy, shake him a little bit and say, Tom, you got nothing left to prove. It's over. It's done. Go home, play golf.
No, definitely. I would say I would do the same thing. Retire on top. That's because, and that's a question I want to ask you because I was talking about this yesterday, and it's like, when is it really time for you to retire, right? Because how about LeBron James? He's 36, but when you consider, they ask him, "Do you see yourself doing the same thing that Tom Brady is at 43?" And that's a tough question because at that level, when do athletes retire just because, hey, I don't want to be seen? Well, how do you want to be remembered? And I think that's what Jordan did. He said he saw that he wasn't gonna do the same things he was saying he was doing before. He was still pretty good, but he wasn't that dominating athlete that he was before. So do you want to be remembered that way or go out like John Elway did, right into the sunset after a Super Bowl win? What is it that you would prefer to do? When is that time? What do you think? And also in golf, I mean, and golf is very different because you have a longer lifespan to play, and now you have the Champions Tour. But when do you stop playing maybe the PGA Tour and try to just say, hey, I'm on top of this, like a Tiger Woods with his back and his issues, his knees, everything. When do you see athletes, or what's their mindset on
That's a
that?
fantastic question. And so a guy like Tom Brady, okay, he uses any little, and Michael Jordan did the same thing. They use any little thing to piss them off, to motivate them to come out and beat the other team's brains, right? Any little thing, they need that motivation. And they're such competitors They just want to keep proving it and proving it and proving. They're like racehorses; they'll just run until they die, right? Um, Jim Brown, he got beat up. I mean, he was a physical football player, and finally he decided he had enough money. He had other opportunities. He could go do other things. He didn't have to be a football player, and it just became, it was just too much for him. So he quit on top. Barry Sanders quit while he was on top. That's hard to know when to do. Guys, they want to hang in there. They love the life. They love the competition. I don't, Tom Brady, what would he do if he's not playing football? Brett Favre kept coming back and coming back, right? So guys hang on too long. They just, that's like we were talking last week, Tiger Woods. When do you just say, 4 knee surgeries and 5 back surgeries, that's enough. I don't need this anymore. It's not, I've got more money than I can ever spend. I got a good family. Let me just enjoy some things, and I don't have to do this. That's a really good question, Carlos. Every athlete has to answer it for themselves. And when you reach that level, like a Tom Brady or a LeBron James or a Michael Jordan, they're at such a level, they have to be such competitors. They focus on one thing, the next game and winning the next game. That's the only thing that means anything to them. I don't know. I don't know how you talk any sense into them. Finally, the body they just get tired of the body hurting, and the body just tells you, son, you ain't 22 anymore. You're done here.
Definitely, I agree.
You know what? I meant to mention too. We've got a really good case right now to watch, and that's Phil Mickelson. Phil is really struggling this year. And he said earlier, if it's not working on the PGA Tour, he's going to play more senior tour events, Champions Tour events, and it ain't working for him right now. So I would give him about another, maybe a couple of the majors here. If things don't work for him, I think he'll be seeing Siren Hour or two playing with the young guys.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to that. I think he's going to have to come to a realization pretty soon of what he wants to do. I mean, Champions Tour, we've seen how he dominated there for a while, the short time that he has played so far. Of course, for that level, he should be dominating. But on the PGA Tour, I mean, it's so difficult because in golf, the longevity is more. I mean, you can still play at a high level at older age, but even at older age, we see. I mean, it's not that easy. You have a bigger schedule right now. It's compressed like never before. So definitely, it's tough. It's tough, and I imagine, you know, for them to leave the competition, it's just like they're going to leave a drug, because that's what thrives them every week. Getting up and not having to do that anymore, it's not easy. But hey, we'll see. I mean, for Patrick Mahomes, I have to tip my hats off to him. He's young. I mean, he'll be back there. And even those shots, he was corralled, like you mentioned. But even when he would just throw them out, he just missed them by nothing. So
And
he
guys
even
dropped him. Guys
from
dropped
yeah,
him. He hit him. They dropped him.
yeah. So
Kelsey
and,
never drops the ball, and he dropped that one.
yeah, yeah. So anyway, it was entertaining, and it's a good thing. Brady said, "I'll be back." We'll see, and we'll see if Tiger Woods recovers from his latest one and becomes an elite level again. So that's the question that we have. But anyway, with that, let's get now to start with the backspin and recapping what happened this past weekend. And first of all, we got to say about the Waste Management Phoenix Open because Brooks Koepka secured a one-shot win at TPC Scottsdale. He started the day 5 shots back. We saw him there. He was hanging in top, not at the top, but he was, stalking the top of the leaderboard. He started 5 shots back, but he made his run on the back nine. I mean, he shot 6 under 65 on Sunday, but the key was that tournament clinching eagle chip at two on the par for the 17 hole. That was masterful. I mean, his short-sided chip landed perfectly, rolled into the hole to get him to 19 on the par. He par the last 2 shot to 65. Xander Schofley and Kyun Hyun Lee finished tied for second place at 18 under. Koepka won the $1.316 million winners purse of the 7.3 million. And incredible. Fred, when he's on, he definitely is as good as it gets. And he definitely, we were talking about him now not being with Claude Harmon. Uh, we wonder what's going to happen, how he was going to play. Hey, he responded with a win. For Jordan Spieth, a tease. He gave us a tease. That 61. It looks like I was like waiting Sunday for him to finally break through. No, 72. So yeah, again that roller coaster, but he looked a lot better than what he's been looking the past few tournaments that he has played. He looked with confidence at least. Now, maybe not on Sunday. Maybe he was trying to push too much. I think again on Sunday to try to assure that he would win. He should have just kept going the way that he was doing, but unfortunately he couldn't do it this time.
Well, I tell you, Carlos, and this never happens, right? I usually dread the Waste Management Phoenix Open. It's more like a circus than a golf tournament. I'm never really too excited about it because it's a birdie fest and it's, you know, all the crowds, and it's more about the crowds than it is about the golf. But I have to tell you, I enjoyed this golf tournament the most of any so far this year. That's counting, well, the Masters last year in the fall, I guess I should say that was pretty good. This was really good stuff. Saturday, the story, it was all Jordan Spieth firing that 61. It was the old Jordan. He's hitting greens, he's finding fairways, hitting greens, making putts. Oh my goodness. I think, you know, they were through like number 13 or 14, and the announcer says, well, he's only made 58 feet of putts today. He's hitting the ball he's striking the ball so well. And then all of a sudden he starts making these bombs. He rolls in a 50-footer, he rolls in a 30-footer. You know, he chips one in. It's the old Jordan Spieth doing the exciting stuff. It was absolutely great. And I texted you. I was really watching to see what he was doing differently. And the thing that I could see, he was completing his backswing. So many times when guys get under pressure, the first thing that happens is they shorten their backswing. They don't make a complete turn, and that speeds up their hands, and you get flippy. And that's what Spieth has been doing for the last 2 years, is flipping those hands, either blocking it right or pulling it left. That's what he did on 17 when he overhooked it into the water. He was still alive up until 17 or 15, I guess it was, and he pulled it into the water. So he played really well. It was really fun to watch. We had just commented, you know, a week or two ago, it was really tough to watch him play. It was so frustrating. He was playing so badly, and now he turns it around and does that on Saturday. It was outstanding. Twitter was all aflutter. Everybody, they were giving him the Masters already, you know, everything. So, but the 54-hole leaders, Schofley and Spieth, they both, as you mentioned, struggled on Sunday. Brooks Koepka just kept sneaking up, and then he knocks that deuce in on 17. That was beautiful. Posted a number, and then the other guys just could not reach it. Schofley's high finish, though, did move him past Dustin Johnson for the top spot in the FedEx Cup race. Patrick Reed's win last week at Torrey had bumped Koepka out of the 6th spot on the Ryder Cup, the automatic spot on the Ryder Cup team. And but Koepka's win this week bumped Reed back down. So Reed now is outside the top 6. Doesn't matter. Stricker's going to pick him anyhow, so it doesn't matter. What else did we learn from the Waste Management? Well, it was great to have the fans back on the course. Here's some roars. And I think Brooks Koepka was a beneficiary of that. It kind of got him fired up a little bit, especially on Sunday, you know, on that back nine, got his juices flowing. What we learned is that, Carlos, I think we already knew this, but when Brooks Koepka is healthy, he's very, very good. But, you know, he questioned himself, would he ever be able to return to his dominant self, you know, when he was going all this rehab last year? And quoting him, he said, "It was a lot worse than I probably let on. There was a period, maybe for about 2 months, where I just questioned whether I was ever going to be the same, whether I was even going to be somewhat remotely the same golfer that I ever was. Those dark places, a lot of tears, questioning yourself in dark places mentally. You've got to come out of that. I'll tell you what, it takes a lot of effort just to get out of those places. So he was there. I mean, he was at the place where can I ever get back? The knees bother him, the hands bother him. He's got issues, the back. So, but he seems to be healthy now. Did you happen to notice they showed he won this event, what, like 4 years ago? So this was the second time he won it. Did you see some of the pictures from back when he was a few years younger and now? Oh my goodness. Now he looks like that tight end, right? Back then he was, he's still a big guy, but he's a lot thinner, not nearly as developed as he is now. Man, oh man, the workout, the fitness programs these guys are on is unbelievable. Another thing I got this week, Xander Schofley. We both love him. He's great on difficult golf courses. He's kind of a little bit like Tom Watson back in the early days of his career. Tom Terrific had a ton of runners up, and media had labeled him a choker. Schofley right now is very good, but not yet a consistent closer, especially on a course like this. It takes a lot of birdies. Now, if this was a really tough golf course, you could have bet on Xander Schofley. He would have been right. He would have been the guy probably to close this out. We learned that maybe Jordan Spieth will get out of his head and return to greatness. His round on Saturday was the best of the year thus far, although Koepka's on Sunday was nearly as good. So, I talked a little bit about last week. We talked about why in the world is Rory Mcilroy playing in the Waste Management Phoenix Open? Well, I figured that out over the weekend. He's playing so many, 7 out of the next 8 out of the 8 weeks, counting last week. We couldn't figure it out. Well, did you see the logo on his bag now? He's got the peacock logo on there. So they moved his show that was on Golf Pass on Golf Channel. They moved over to Peacock. So NBC's paying him now. So he's playing in the NBC televised events. That's why he's playing in the Waste Management Phoenix Open. It's the old thing, Carlos. If you pay them, they will come. So did you see?
Yeah,
also,
but one thing regarding that, you pay
yeah,
and they come, but in his case, why would it make sense for you to physically extort yourself 7 out of 8 weeks, including coming from the Middle East to come and play here in the States? I mean, I know it's a lot of money, it's a lot of endorsements and all this, but Rory's not getting any younger. Yeah, he's in perfect physical condition. He's a physical specimen, but hey, it can happen. I mean, just one bad swing and then you're done. And
they
that,
were probably
look
going
at
to
what's happened to Brooks
they're
Koepka.
probably going to cancel his show. And they probably said, listen, the only way we're going to keep your show is if you play in these NBC tournaments. So that's probably the deal, Carlos. I mean, I don't know that. Nobody's told me that, but I'm just putting 2 and 2 together here and making 4 out of it. So that's what it looks like to me. There's no reason. And, even Adam Scott said, there's tournaments that we play that are entertaining tournaments for the fans, and this is one of those. But then there's the real tournaments we play, like the majors. And this is an entertainment tournament. There's no reason for somebody like Roy to be playing in this event, just none. Look, we're going to talk about it in a minute. The AT&T has become a web.com or a Corn Ferry Tour event, for God's sake. There's not one top 10 guy playing in that thing, because AT&T doesn't have the sponsorships with the top guys. They're putting their monies in the tournaments and not putting their money sponsoring, endorsing the guys. So they're not getting the field. There's a couple other reasons we're going to get into too, but yeah, that's what it looks like to me, Carlos. It's simply a money deal that Rory's fulfilling a contract obligation for playing there. Also, did you see the Paramount commercials during the Super Bowl where they had Bryson in them, and then the other shows it's going to be on Paramount, which Paramount is owned by CBS. It's going to be their live streaming outlet like Peacock is for NBC. So we're going to be seeing the golf coverage, the CBS golf coverage. We're going to be seeing it on Paramount in the near future. So I don't know if you caught that or not.
Yeah, I did. But I really don't want to say anything about it now. I I want to wait a little bit for something else we're going to talk, and I'll bring that back on.
Okay. That's all I got for you. But I really enjoyed the Waste Management Phoenix Open this year. I watched a lot on Saturday, and I watched the back nine. The leaders play the whole back nine on Sunday. Really got into it.
Yeah, no, and Steve Stricker did very good as well. I mean,
Yeah.
T4 surprisingly to me there with Carlos Ortiz and Jordan Spieth. Scotty Scheffler did well. Also T7. Louis Oosthuizen was a nice T11. Rory McIlroy finished T13 with John Ram and JT. So JT was playing back here now after playing in the Middle East. So kind of quiet that we didn't see a lot of that backlash that has been, following him. But good to see him at least with a nice finish. Now
Well,
let's
with JT on Sunday, what did he shoot? Even par round or something like that?
72, yeah, just
Yeah, he
like
had just
Jordan.
been informed about his grandfather's death, and so he just was kind of going about his round. He was just putting his time in so he could get out of there. That's why he really wasn't a factor on Sunday.
All right, now let's talk about the European Tour because the Saudi International was won again by DJ Dustin Johnson on this tournament for the second time in 3 years. They played at the Royal Greens Golf and Country Club in King Abdullah Economic City in Saudi Arabia. He posted a 15 under, closing with a 2 under 68, not too flashy, but just good enough to finish it. American Tony Finau was tied for the lead with DJ with 2 to play, but then he dropped shots on each of the final 2 holes to lose out on a playoff. So Justin Rose finished tied for second, a very good finish there for Justin. Finished tied for second with Tony Finau on 13 under. Callum Hill and Victor Perez shared fourth place on 12 under. So Fred, a very nice tournament there for them. DJ again showing, why he is the world's number one.
Yeah, he only managed a 200 par round on Sunday. Still got the win. He missed a ton of putts. I don't know if you saw any of his round on Sunday, but I did watch some of that in the morning, and he was striking the ball pretty well. Just couldn't get the putts to fall. They were on the edge, and he was putting nicely on Saturday. He just couldn't quite get it up, but he still ended up winning. I think DJ likes this course. You mentioned he's won there twice in the last 3 years. Oh, and last year he was runner up. The only year he didn't win. So he does pretty well there. He only collected 475,000 euro for the win, which is about 575,000 US dollars. But with the $2 million appearance fee, it was worth the trip. He had a nice time over there, and it's going to keep Paulina in Christian Louboutins for some time now. Justin Rose, you mentioned him, had that final round 65, good enough for runner-up finish, tied with Tony Finau. Once again, fails to get a win when he's in position. Finau had 4 rounds, 68, 65, 67, 67. Very good, but not quite as good as DJ. Victor Hovland, one of your young guys, Carlos, he was 4th, along with another one of your guys, Rasmus Højgaard and Tyrell Hatton. And then your guy, Kurt Kitayama, he ended up T12 with Paul Casey and Sergio. So your young guys, they keep showing up on leaderboards, Carlos. Up, you're mute. You're not talking. Okay, you want me to keep talking? Yes, sir. Let me roll on down here. Let's move on down. That really wraps up our backspin for the week. Carlos is having a little bit of technical difficulties there, so I'm going to scroll on down here. We're going to move on into the par 5 news, and Carlos is back, so I'm going to turn it back to him because he's a lot better at this stuff than I am.
I'm sorry, I just got it. One of the things of being live on this is that you sometimes get some phone calls. I'm on call for my work, so I had to it was a quick message, but hey, I had to make sure nothing wrong was happening. But with that, like you mentioned, we wrap up our backspin. Now let's get on the course for it. I can't wait to talk about the things we have in store for our listeners here. And first of all, we're going to start talking about Rory McIlroy. And, we have been talking about the USGA and the R&A and their equipment. How can we call this now? Because we've been going at this for a few years now and talking about where they,
The ongoing
the
saga.
equipment. What?
The ongoing saga.
Yeah. I think that between Star Wars Nimes chapters and the R&A and the USGA and the equipment, the ball, what's going to happen, bifurcation. I think they have a lot of people. They said, we're going to have something for you. They once in a while they say we have something for you. It's going to come soon, but it never comes. I don't know, but Rory spoke his mind, not there at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. So, what's your take on what Rory said, Fred?
Well, his press conference was over, and it was done, and the moderator was wrapping it up, and Roy just kept sitting there. He says, "Okay, nobody asked me the question. Don't you guys want to talk about the real question here?" And everybody looks a little dumbfounded. He says, "Well, what about the USGA update and the equipment and all that stuff?" And so, boom, he just jumps right into it. I mean, nobody does that, right? Who does that? So that's really great. And another thing I found out, Rory is lobbying to be the chairman, the head of the tour policy board. He wants to become a mover and shaker on this stuff, and his voice is going to be heard. So he's somebody to listen to. So anyhow, even after the questions are over, they got into this discussion, and Rory is really all for bifurcation. He says, "Listen," he said, "the game's already we already got bifurcation anyhow." He said, "The average golfer doesn't play from the tips. They don't play 7,400-yard golf courses like we do. You play it 6,000 or 6,300. It's a totally different game. A golf course from 6,300 yards or 6,000 yards is a lot different than a golf course from 7,200 or 7,000 yards. I guarantee you." Okay. So even if you got different balls, you got different equipment, it's just the same kind of thing in Rory's mind is what he's saying. So he has no problem with it. And he says, quit screwing around with it. Let's get on with it. We'll figure it out. Dustin Johnson, they asked him about it later in the week. He says, he says, if they change it, we'll figure it out. If they're going to make a shorter golf ball, we'll adapt. We'll figure it out. We'll be okay. And they're exactly right. So the other problem with this, though, is, Carlos, is the cost of producing this stuff. And I don't know how they're going to handle all that. But Jim Nugent wrote in Global Golf Post this week that several equipment manufacturers that he talked to are not really real happy with this, as you can imagine, because now they've got to retool. They've got to make a different product. Right now, they just roll out the same product. Well, within reason, some of the balls that they make for the pros on tour are prototypes. Tiger has his own balls. You can't buy those over the shelf. I'm sorry, you can't. It can't be done. When Tiger hits balls, they go out and gather those up. They're marked special, and he gets those back. Nobody else gets those. But within reason, basically, what you buy on the shelf is pretty much like what the pros are using. If USGA and R&A changes this stuff, the balls you buy in the store are going to be a lot different than what the pros are using on tour. But the pros will figure this stuff out. But the problem is, for the manufacturers, that's a lot of cost. So you got the big four, Titleist, Callaway, Ping, TaylorMade. They can bear the cost of making different clubs for tour pros and for the average player. But some of the smaller club makers or some of the smaller ball makers, it's going to be an expensive cost. They can't do that. So this issue has a lot of layers to it, Carlos. We've been talking about it now for what, 4 years probably. Bryson has kind of brought it to the top of the burner again, turned the heat up a little bit. And then the USGA and the R&A says, well, we got to do, they keep going, we got to do something about it. We're hitting the ball too far. They figure they got to do something. They don't know what they're going to do, and they know what they'd like to do, but in reality, I just don't know. I know they keep talking about it, but we'll see. But Rory's all for bifurcation, Carlos.
He is, and to some degree, I agree with him. I mean, you don't have to be a scientist to understand that the pros and the every average golfer, right, don't play the same game. I don't think I mean, he tries to minimize it by saying that 99.9% of the people that play golf play this for entertainment. So that it's just 0.1, the ones that which are the pros that are playing for paying money. And he says that they are focusing on that specific kind of people. I kind of disagree in there because you're trying to make it whatever changes they do is going to affect not only the point one, it's going to affect everybody. So they're trying to make it anyway. The same thing that is going to happen to the pros is going to be happening to the to the ones like us, the amateurs that just play for fun. But the thing is that what I agree with him is one thing that he says they should get all that money and try to go to the grassroots and engage more people.
Oh
That
yeah,
is very true.
yeah.
That is very true. Uh, that has to be done regardless. Whether you do a change in equipment, you do a change in anything that you do in policies or whatever, you have to spend money to try to get more people because otherwise, it doesn't matter if you change the equipment, you change the rules, you can do anything else, who's going to be playing if there's nobody that you're attracting to the game? That is really the key that I see that we should focus on and he should focus more on because the equipment, what is it going to do to him? Because if it affects the distance that he's hitting, it's going to affect Luke Donald, who is it half the way that he is hitting it as well. So they're just bringing it back. The same thing is happening in that same debate is happening in baseball, that they want to change the ball again because there's a lot of home runs, but they forget that there's more strikeouts as well. So if you don't have home runs, you're negating the thing anyway. So they, it, I, you mentioned it. There's a lot of layers to this, and we keep focusing on they're changing the equipment, they're bringing the ball back. It's going to affect everybody the same thing. So they're going to affect Rory. They're going to affect the ones that don't hit it that long. I think, yeah, we should focus more on trying to bring more people here. Now, to your point that Jim Nugent is bringing, let me put it this way: when Apple or Samsung, right? The big phone makers, all right, they make a change on the phone. Do you think they worry because they now are going to have the other people that make the cords and all the adapters and all the things, when they change a little bit of there, you know what happens? All those others have to adapt, but they make more money because otherwise, what are they going to be doing? I'm going to have the same charging cable all the time until you change it. Now it's a different connector. Now I have to go and buy another one. So you are really enhancing and putting more market out there for, yeah, the bigger ones are going to be always producing the bigger, they're going to have the bigger share of the market. That's going to happen no matter what. Whether you change the equipment or not, they're going to be doing it anyway. Yeah, the ones that are going to be on the bottom, they will always have to suffer the same thing. So I just think it's more opportunity that you have when you do that change because there's something new. Everybody has to adapt to something new. So if you get creative and then try to bring that product, start thinking now, there's going to be this change. Let me start doing that adaptation for what is coming and try to be creative. Maybe you can hit the market first and you're going to be getting a lot of market to your way, you know. So, but again, we can be talking a whole show about this, Fred. And like like the R&A and the USGA said, they're in the solution phase. Come on, just finish it and let us know so we can start debating about this a little more when those changes come.
Yeah, it's and like a couple of things we've got going now. I mean, this is just one of those issues that's just going to keep going on and on and on. And I don't know. I mean, the last time they said something was a year ago, right? And so, yeah, COVID popped up, and so that kind of drug stuff out. But I don't. You know, we're just going to be talking about this all summer. I can see it just being drug out all year.
Yeah, definitely. And hey, it's one of our favorite topics to talk about. So, well,
I don't
well,
know about that, but it's
I
a
think you
topic.
saw us. I think you saw us, right? We spoke a little bit, just a little bit, right? But anyway, let's move on. Now, talking about distance, I I, I can't wait. As soon as I saw this, that was gonna be in our show, I was like, I gotta ask Fred. You know, the PGA of America said today that it will allow the use of distance measuring devices during competition at its major championships beginning in 2021. So that means that the players and or caddies will be able to use the technology to gain information on distance or direction. They will not be able to use devices to measure elevation changes. The policy affects the PGA Championship, the KPMG Women's PGA Championship, and the KitchenAid Senior PGA Championship. So, Fred, what's your take on this?
Carlos, I put a post up right after I got the letter from PGA this morning. I put a post up right away, and I just said, good or bad, the PGA is allowing the use of rangefinders in their three major championships. And I got more comments on this thing than anything I've ever put up on any social media. It's unbelievable, and it's on both sides. I found it interesting. Billy Horschel actually weighed in. I got comments from him, and he said, if they think they're going to speed up play, they're badly mistaken. It's just going to be one more thing to take time to confuse, to talk about and all this kind of thing, which I see on the golf course. I just cringe sometimes when I see these guys walk up. They got to get their rangefinder out. They got to scope it. They got to look at it. They got to figure it out. It takes more time. I use it. I don't use it on every shot, and I didn't use one for a long time. But I play so many different golf courses that if I play a golf course all the time, I don't need it. I know where I'm at. But I play so many different golf courses. But when I first pull up, while the other guy's getting ready to hit or whatever, I'm shooting it. It takes me like 10 seconds, right? And then boom, I got it. I'm on. I'm not worrying about anything else at that point. But Billy Horschel weighed in. He was not a fan. Ken Green, you remember Ken Green that played? He weighed in, and he likened it to the USGA allowing greens books in the PGA Tour, how it's slowed down. These guys are all reading their greens books. They can't trust their eyes. They can't trust their caddies. They can't trust their own information. They got to have all this outside stuff. And so I found that very interesting that the two actual pros or guys that are out that weighed in, and they were not for it. So other people were all for it. One is a rules official who I know real well, and thought it was about time. Other people, both sides, got both sides. So I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of this for the pros at all. They got their caddy. They play the course. They know it. They play enough golf. They don't need rangefinders. They can use them during the practice round, figure stuff out. The only time that I see a benefit for this rule is that if a guy hits it way off track, like Jordan Spieth hits it on the range at the British Open, you can get a yardage to figure out how far he's got to the green from when he's out in the boondocks someplace. That's the only thing that I see it saving time. Because if you remember, that shot took 15 minutes. I want to say by the time they got it all figured out and got the yardages and got the people cleared away and stuff, that would have probably saved a good 7-8 minutes on that shot. But I'm not a fan of this, Carlos. I'm really surprised they did this. Really, really surprised they did this without going in conjunction with the USGA.
I truly think it's a waste of time. The pros already use it on practice rounds. But the thing is, I totally agree. The caveat here is that the theory that they are presenting is that this will improve the pace of play, but I don't think so. Like you're saying, and like Billy Horschel is saying, the rule change already has its detractors, that it goes against traditional norms of play and precision. But there are also who say this, it's going to speed up. So it's unlikely that it will eliminate other forms of measurements and will instead only add an additional step, like you're mentioning. I mean, it also will present another chance to discrepancy in yardage books or course markers. They are already used by the pros in practice rounds. So tournament play is a different animal. I don't think, and besides, they have to comply with Rule 43A in the rules of golf, which prohibits any devices that measure elevation changes or directional information. So if you're not going to do that, then I don't know what the use for it is, the distance. But what I mean, what I really like it is that okay, I see the elevation, I can know what line I'm gonna hit with and all that, what line of play, maybe the club that I'm gonna select based on the location of the player's ball. But again, I just think it's a waste of time. But the thing is that it's going to be only conducted, it's going to be only a tournament that is from the PGA of America. So you won't see this on the US PGA Tour events or championships that are conducted by the USGA. Certainly we will not see it in Augusta. So anyway, we'll see what goes on with this. I truly agree. I don't think, Fred, this is going to be a good thing at all. I don't even know who was the whiz that came up with this. I just see it as a marketing tool or something, or just trying to bring some attention to it. What you think?
Yep, I agree. I don't. I was trying to think why would they do this? There's some monetary value to the PGA that they would do this. I don't see unless they come up in the next few months with some kind of deal with Bushnell or somebody, uh, one of the major rangefinder companies or something. Maybe that's in the works. I don't know, but I just it doesn't make any sense to me with the way the rest of the major golf is played, the USGA, the PGA Tour, LPGA, the R&A. I don't, for them to break away and do this, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I don't. But anyway, let's talk about Rolex because they became the official timekeeper and partner of the PGA Championship, the KPMG Women's PGA Championship, and the KitchenAid Senior PGA Championship, and the PGA Professional Championship. Also elevated to a Ryder Cup Worldwide partner. That was Fred announced as an expansive agreement with Rolex, whose roots as a long-term supporter of the game of the golf goes back to 1967.
Yeah, they've made a big deal. They started out working with Jack and Arnie and Gary Player, and they've continued through the years. They've really been a big supporter of the PGA Tour. They've been a big supporter of other sports, and really used that obviously worked as a great marketing tool for them to sell their $5,000 and $10,000 watches if you need that kind of thing. But yeah, just a new deal. PGA is, I mean, they're all over the news this week, right? With the rangefinders, and now signing a new deal with Rolex. Good for them. For Rolex, the long-term marketing strategy is working with professional athletes, and it's worked well for them. So this is just a continuation.
Most definitely. And now let's talk about Saudi Arabia, who's building on ladies European Tour ties with the Aramco Team Series. There's going to be some prize money for the winning team. There's going to be some sponsorship now, an investment by Aramco on the ladies European Tour for some professional events that are going to be held worldwide. And Fred, I kind of laugh a little bit because last year, uh, Saudi Aramco joined F1 Formula One as a sponsor, and I remember this headline that said, the world's biggest polluter joins the F1. So now they're joining the. I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying the fact that that was the headline. Now the ladies European Tour. Joins with that Aramco Team Series, which is interesting, because again, this goes back, Fred, to what we have been talking about Saudi Arabia and how they want to be portrayed or shown or thought of about the ladies, right? And they keep now sponsoring and trying to bring in, hey, we are all for the ladies. So what do you make of this? I mean, the ladies European Tour definitely needs all the help they can give them. Definitely, this is also some of what we've been seeing maybe from the LPGA's influence that is coming now. More sponsorships, new type of competitions. So, what's your take, on this team series that's going to be uh, sponsored by Aramco from Saudi Arabia?
Well, number one, I think it's fantastic for the ladies European Tour. They really needed something like this. They They don't have a Rolex series. They don't have WGCs. They don't have, major championships. I mean, they've got the British Women's Open. That's pretty much it. And they play in the Solheim Cup. That's their big deal. This is a big deal for them. 4 events. They're going to be in London. They're going to be in Singapore. They're going to be in New York, and they're going to be in Dubai. So this is, I mean, it's a big deal. They're big money events. The Saudi Arabia company is obviously pumping a bunch of money into ladies European golf. So that's all good. The motive behind it is what we keep talking about. We just saw the men over there playing in Saudi Arabia. We had to talk about the political issues and the ramifications. And this is all a big PR event to get our perception of Saudi Arabia, to raise that, to say, oh, they're really the good guys. They're not the bad guys they've been portrayed to be. So, the fact that they're putting this money out and helping the Ladies European Tour, that's a wonderful thing. Kudos to them. Really surprised that the LPGA has allowed the Ladies European Tour to come to New York. Really surprised about that, and not making that be a joint sanctioned event. But again, I do see this as a marketing arrangement between the LPGA and the LET, part of that marketing agreement they have to work together, where the LPGA is helping them. I think I see Michael Wan's footprint all over this. But bottom line, it's a good deal. But then behind the scenes a little bit, I wish it was somebody else besides Saudi Arabia.
Again, we keep pounding on them. Let's wait. Okay, let's wait. I keep saying, let's see. We all are capable of change. Maybe this is it. It's just the problem is that we are just Patrick reading Saudi Arabia. Just because Patrick has been always blamed for cheating doesn't mean that he will at some point do the right thing and call the person in charge of the rules and say, can I, get a drop because that thing there was embedded. It's everybody, nobody saw it bounce. So we are Patrick reading Saudi Arabia.
Poor Patrick. Poor Patrick.
Yeah, that's just the same thing. We have to allow them to try, and I'm all for it. And about going to New York, I think, like I mentioned, I think it's just an opportunity to give the Ladies European Tour a chance to attract these players that are here, maybe from also European players that would like to play there, have a chance to all these players from Europe that are playing in the US, or maybe some of the top players in the US right now, to get a chance to play a tournament for the Ladies European Tour. It's just promotion that I see it there happening. Yeah, I don't see a big deal about it. I think it's just part of the marketing and help that they're trying to give the Ladies European Tour by doing that tournament in New York. But definitely, they need it. This is a big thing. And if it's from Saudi Arabia, hey, I'm still, I know the jury's still out. I'm still, saying, bring it on. I mean, if that's the way that you're showing change, let them do it. But anyway, let's talk about Augusta National because there's a partnership that they have right now with the Augusta University Health announced to help expand the vaccination efforts there in Augusta. So the Augusta National and the Community Foundation for the CSRA will be providing matching $1 million contributions that will result in a joint donation of $2 million to further support the Augusta University Health's vaccination efforts. That was announced last Wednesday morning by Augusta National Chairman Fred Ridley. It will also supply Augusta University a facility to give the vaccine at the old Steinmart building inside the Washington Square shopping complex. So again, Fred, golf providing for the needs, right? We see already the donations that are made at each tournament, and this is just another effort that we see one big community, the Augusta National Golf Club there, joining the Community Day Foundation for those $1 million contributions, plus the facilities that they're going to be doing. I mean, this vaccination efforts, we welcome everything that comes from anywhere. We want to have everybody vaccinated. Let's just get out there and be back to normal. I can't wait.
Yeah, does it seem to you? I mean, the last few years, Augusta National is really reaching out and become socially responsible. The Asia Pacific tournament and bringing the winner, giving them an exemption. The Latin American amateur and giving the winner an exemption. Reaching out, they several years ago, bringing women into the club. I think this is outstanding. I think this is wonderful. Kudos to Augusta National, and more for them. With the drive, chip, and putt, taking that on and having it there. The Augusta National Women's Amateur, letting them come in and play there on Friday and Saturday prior to the tournament the next week. I think it's just wonderful. I can't. Augusta has been maligned for so many years of being the classic old boys closed country club, and they're kind of opening the doors up and letting the air in and say, hey, here we are, we're doing this stuff. So we're not all bad. This is kind of good stuff to me, Carlos. I kind of like it.
Well, definitely, because like you mentioned, the past few years also, there's been a lot of talk of them buying this piece of land, buying this piece of land. And somehow what we've seen, the response is like, oh, they're buying the whole Augusta. All of a sudden, all Augusta is going to be Augusta National. There's not going to be anybody living there. But we really don't see the things that they're doing back on the back end, like you mentioned, all those things. And this now, it's just another important piece of what they really do on the back end that a lot of people don't see, how they're trying to put their plays to further not only the game of golf but also enhance their presence with the community. And I applaud them for what they're doing. I mean, just to come out and try to help on this, it really shows that they do really care about their community there. It's not just about buying land to expand their course. But anyway, another great piece of news and another organization that we love to talk about, that's the Folds of Honor. They're established to provide primary and secondary scholarship to assist children's with scholarships, children's from K to 12th grade. And now they announced that their scholarship application window is open. It's going to be from February 1st to March 31st each year. So it's open right now, Fred. So anybody that wants to apply for that, the window is open. You have this next 2 months. We're already in February 9th, but hey, a great thing there for the children from grades K to 12 to try to earn a scholarship.
Yeah, they provide these scholarships for the families of U.S. military veterans, whether they be wounded or possibly even killed in action, to help families belay the cost of secondary education. So scholarships are for a university or a licensed technical program. They can only be awarded to those seeking a first bachelor's degree. Graduate courses or programs not eligible. Scholarships cannot be offered to those seeking a second bachelor's degree or certificate. If they already have an undergraduate degree, that's not going to get it. They can be made up to $5,000. Applicants must reapply every year through the Folds of Honor portal on the web. They can go to foldsofhonor.org, and documentation is not accepted via the U.S. mail, fax, whatever. It has to be through that web portal. So no funds are sent directly to the awardee. They're sent to the educational institution. But these are very worthwhile scholarships. Major Dan Rooney and the Folds of Honor do a fantastic job raising money every year for this. We had a story that this stuff's going to be, they do it over Memorial Day, Labor Day, July 4th, your local club, you can support these things. So they have outings all over the place. Look it up, go to their website, Give them some money. They do a fantastic job.
Definitely go to the website and check it out. Anything that you can do to sponsor or help that, it's a great thing to do. Now, Fred, our last piece of news. Last month I was reading that there's news that the dinosaurs probably beat us to the moon. I mean, there apparently there's some remainings over there. Now I read this month the gulls have been found up there, which isn't quite exciting to a lot of people like the dinosaurs, right? But bear with us. I mean, to us, it's a very big thing because on February 5th it marked the 50th year anniversary that Apollo 14th touched down on the moon, as well as equipment for attempting to determine the internal structure of our satellite planet, right? And to measure the composition of the lunar atmosphere, see how scientific I am, right? The astronauts also took with them a 6 iron golf club head and some golf balls. The head had been attached to the handle of a sample collection tool, so it really wasn't a club. But if you see, it's not a type of club favored by the pros, right? But the following day, February 6th, astronaut Alan Shepard got to do what nobody had done before, and he practiced his swing on the moon. Now, what happened? His first shots did not go well, skimming the top of the ball and sending it just a few feet, just like I do all the time. But on the third swing, clearly motivated by this counting against his score, I mean, he was 2 down already, it's 2 over. He connected the ball, flew out a shot on a fairly low trajectory. It didn't have a lot of elevation, right? But he managed to hit the second ball on the first try, believing it had gone miles and miles and miles. He didn't know. But one of the balls was found by fellow astronaut Edgar Mitchell in a nearby crater, but the second wasn't found, until half a century later when imaging specialist Andy Saunders digitally enhanced the scans, and you can see it, of the original film taken during the Apollo 14 rather than miles and miles and miles, because you would think, okay, it's right there. There's no gravity, right? I just hit it, and it should be by Saturn at this time, right? 50 years after. But Sanders' analysis revealed that despite that low gravity on the moon, the ball had not gone far at all. It traveled just 24 yards. So, Fred, I mean, even with low gravity, you hit the ball 24 yards. Um, I don't know, man. That's just shameful, man. That's shameful. Alan, I don't know. I don't know how far you hit it here on Earth, but if you go to the moon and just hit it 24 yards, that's just
Yeah,
shameful.
but I want to see you try to hit a golf ball with all that equipment on. He's got on, he got the jetpack on, and he's got the breathing device, and he can't hardly move around. He looks like the kid in the snowsuit in the Christmas movie, right? Yeah, I don't. It was really tough. He's trying to do it one-handed with a homemade 6 iron. Yeah, it didn't work out very well. I found it really interesting though, and that's what caught my eye on this thing. That they did some calculations, and that if Bryson DeChambeau could hit a ball on the moon, it could go as far as 3.41 miles with a hang time of 1 minute 22 seconds. Now that is a distance worth talking about. That would drive the USGA and the R&A absolutely berserk.
And to his credit, like Saunders was saying also, it was the equivalent of an unrake bunker. So I'm gonna give it to him.
Yeah.
Maybe that was it. But he also said that Jimmy Walker would be, hitting it at 200, at 185 miles per hour, which is his earthbound speed. At a clean 45-degree angle, it would be 2.62 miles. So there you see the difference between Bryson and Jimmy, right? Wow. I mean, what would you do? How would you play golf in the moon? I mean, you have to go how? I mean, the carts obviously have to do it because how long would be the par fives? I mean, like 12 miles or something like that. I don't know.
Well,
It we're
if you can hit a drive a mile and a half, that'd be say half the. You'd have to have like a 3 mile par five. It'd take
I
you
know
10
because
hours to
Bryson will hit it 3 miles. So
take you
based
10
on
hours to
that,
play around.
you will have to do like 6 miles to make it a par five. But anyway, yeah, for those of you, because there was somebody that asked me, but why? Isn't it true that, I mean, you have no gravity? How would you measure that that's going to be just 3 miles or 2.62 in the case of Jimmy? Well, remember this, even though that you cannot hit it at a big elevation out of there. So remember, the moon, just like the earth, is round. So that's what they were calculating, that the 1 minute and a half that it would be the hang time is what it would take before again the edge of the earth, of the moon's surface will be again flat to the trajectory
We'll catch
of
it.
the ball. So that's why they were saying that with the angle and the velocity that it would take, that's how they're calculating it. Remember, the earth and the moon, contrary to what Kyrie Irving say, it's not flat. Okay, it's not. So, Kyrie, sorry, you're wrong about that. But anyway, with that, we get off the course, and now we're gonna take to the forecall, and we're gonna talk to you about what's gonna happen this week. Oh, before that, Fred, talk to us about Boeing.
Oh, yeah, just real briefly, don't want to forget to make your summer golf trip plans to Boyne right now. Take advantage of the outstanding prices they're offering for stay and play at their 3 locations. Bay Harbor is celebrating their 25th anniversary this year. The Mountain has 2 wonderful 18-hole golf courses. The Highlands offers 4 championship courses, 3 spas, tasty dining options, every outdoor activity imaginable await on one of America's best resorts. Visit BoyneGolf.com, B-O-Y-N-E golf.com today. Book your summer adventure to Northern Michigan. Carlos, back to you.
And now, yes, with that, we go to the forecall where we have one tournament happening this weekend, and that is the AT&T at Pebble Beach. The tournament will not have amateurs, man, for the first time because of the COVID-19 pandemic. We have talked about this before. Without the amateurs or spectators, it will be played on only 2 courses, Pebble Beach and Spyglass. Dustin Johnson, the #1 in the world, with the roof on the field. I mean, he should still be celebrating his Saudi victory in Saudi Arabia. He chose to stay home to rest, of course. It's a big flight. And you mentioned it, Fred. This is the weakest field in Pebble Beach since the world ranking began in 1986. Phil Mickelson and Paul Casey are among those who were playing in our area last week, are playing now. Ricky Fowler is playing the tournament for the first time since 2012. It's incredible, Fred. I cannot believe how low Fowler has dipped. He's ranked now number 63 in the world and not yet eligible for the Masters. So maybe this is something he's trying to do. Let me get in there, try to get that 62, and getting to the Masters. So Jordan Spieth, of course, he's going to be invited. But anyway, Jordan Spieth is coming off his first top 10 since the 2019 PGA Championship. He needs more repetitions. This is the perfect time to do it. Will Zalatoris, I keep saying it, he keeps playing really, really well. He was T17 last week. He earned a special temporary membership on the PGA Tour. He received a late sponsor extension. He cracked the top 50 in the world last week. Watch out. Will keeps playing really, really well. Forget about the Corn Ferry. He's not going back. And something else I'm really happy about, Fred, is that Kamayu Johnson, who we talked about, his first PGA Tour appearance was delayed when he tested positive for the coronavirus at Torrey Pines. They gave him a sponsor exemption, so he's among 2 Advocates Pro Golf Association Tour members in the field. The other one is Kevin Hall, a former Big Ten champion from Ohio State. And
I love Ohio State. You gotta love
see,
that.
I had to say it from Ohio State. I know you love
You
that.
gotta say the Ohio
The
State.
Ohio State University. And you know what? The biggest thing for Kevin, he's deaf. Great thing that he's going to be playing there. Great opportunity. And finally, Fred, Matt Gogol is playing also on expansion tournament. He expansion sponsors exemption. My God, what's wrong with me today? He won the tournament in 2002, so great to see him back here again.
I tell you what, without they dropped to 36 world golf ranking points in this event. which, to give you an idea, back in 2017, the normal ranking is about 56. So they've dropped 20 points. And that was before Dustin Johnson dropped out. So they're going to drop even lower because it's based off strength of field, right? Not one guy from the top 10 is in this field this week. That is just a travesty to me. It's unbelievable. We're talking about Pebble Beach, for God's sake. Come on. So there's a lot of reasons for this thing. Number one is that Saudi Arabia was last week. That's one of the big things. The timing of on the schedule, you've got it's right before the Genesis, which has grown now in stature with Tiger taking that over and getting more FedEx Cup points for that thing. It's very close now to the Florida Swing. You've got a WGC coming up, so it's on a tough place of schedule. It's after Torrey Pines, but the big factor here is have you looked at a weather map for this week for there? It's absolutely horrid. This is why Dustin Johnson opted out this week, okay? He's been in the desert in 85-degree temperatures. The high for the week is going to be 55 in Monterey. It's going to rain Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and the wind's going to blow about 25 on Sunday with 50-degree temperatures. So it's going to be awful. It's going to be wet, cold, windy. I feel sorry for these guys. They're going to earn their money this week for sure. But you got 156 guys there. It's more like a Korn Ferry Tour plus a reunion tour. You got John Daly in the field. You got David Duvall. You got Bill Haas. I thought he retired. Patty Harrington was going to play, but it was just announced today that he's got COVID, can't play. Tom Lehman, Bo Van Pelt. I haven't heard Bo Van Pelt's name in years. The guy I like this week, I think it's time for Ricky Fowler to step up. I think Jordan Spieth maybe rides the confidence from last week and has a good week. I like Will Zalatoris this week. I think this would be a perfect time for him to jump up and have a top 5 finish. So, matter of fact, I got a friend who touches base with me every week. He does these draft things. He's in one of these draft deals, and he picks 6 guys, and he has me check. And I recommend. I say, hey, pick Will Zalatoris this week. Not going to cost you anything. He's playing really well. I think he's a good pick. So, Carlos, Pebble Beach, one of the most iconic golf courses in the world. This event is on life support. They got to do something with this, and they got to do it quick. They either got to raise the purse, change the date, alter the format, do something to draw a better field. I guess if the AT&T PGA Tour, AT&T at Pebble Beach goes away, we'll still see it every 5 years or so for the U.S. Open. But man, I'd hate that. We see great golf at Pebble Beach every year. It's been Crosby started it back in the 50s or late 40s. It's been a staple on tour for a long, long time.
Definitely, it would be something. I really don't know what the answer is to that. With this compressed schedule that we're playing, of course, you got to give it also that this year's a different thing, different story. The pandemic, we have even more compressed schedule because of the Olympics setup, but the problem really goes farther than that. This format, maybe you have to change it. Maybe the Pro-Am is not what it should be. I don't know. It's really very difficult for an iconic venue to lose a tournament. I think everything should be made to try to make it a better field. Maybe I think a change in the schedule. But then again, you have the West Coast swing at the beginning of the year. When are you really going to change it? That's it's a little difficult. You're trying to keep play in places that that won't be affected by the weather at the beginning of the year. So that's why you play the West Coast swing and then you play to Florida, because those are the areas that are really not going to be bound to snow or really, really bad weather at the time. So, Fred, I really don't see how this is going to be, other than maybe racing it to another level or maybe racing the purse. What can you do really to make sure that the top players are going to be sponsoring this tournament? So.
Yeah, I don't have any answers either, but somebody smarter than me is going to have to come up with something, because this thing is dying on the vine.
And when we say something, something happens. So wait for it. You'll see in a month or two, we'll be talking about, hey, remember when we talked about 2 months ago? See, now they're doing it. But anyway, with that, we wrap up our four call. Now, Fred, wow,
We
we
got one
finished.
more.
No, the comment is next week. It's not this week.
Oh, I'm sorry, I messed that up. Pardon me. Forget I said anything.
No problem. So anyway, we wrap up our four call. So Fred, what do you have for us? Some final words before we go.
The only thing I got for you, Carlos, is that tomorrow morning, the February issue of the Ohio Golf Journal is going to be published. We're talking about fans returning to golf. We talked about that a little bit tonight. More info on the Solheim Cup. We're going to talk about the captains a little bit. And also, we got some golf travel to Florida and Myrtle Beach in there, plus quite a bit more stuff. So it's always entertaining. Hope everybody takes a chance to log on to OhioGolfJournal.com. Up in the top left corner, just click on it. The magazine will pop up for you. So I hope everybody enjoys that.
Well, Back Niners, that will wrap up another week of the Back Nine Report. Thank you for joining us. It's always our pleasure to bring you the latest in the world of golf. Don't forget to see us again next week on YouTube, or if you miss it, check out our audio version on TuneIn. And if you haven't done so, I keep saying, what are you waiting for? Follow the show on Twitter. It's very simple. Our ID is Back9 Report, but the number 9, not the word in the middle. My name is Carlos Torres, along with Fred Altvater. We wish you to be happy, be blessed, and enjoy the great game of golf. Happy golfing, everybody.
Good night, everybody.